What's up, fellas? Happy 4th of July, right? I guess, right? Everybody celebrating it? I do see some red. I do see some red here.
We're recognizing it.
You
Yeah,
got some red on.
okay, okay, okay.
Who's
So
participating? Who's grilling?
I'm not grilling. Anybody grilling?
No.
I stayed up last night. I did 12 hours of brisket, and it came out phenomenal.
Ooh.
I'm working on 90 minutes of sleep right now.
How much extra you got?
Phenomenal.
I know
When
this is
can
my
I swing
first
through
time
and get
ever
some?
smoking a brisket, so I got a small one, Julio. I only did I just got the flat, like 6 pounds. I just cut it up. It'll probably last 2 days with a 16-year-old in the house.
Got
Okay.
it.
So have a much
Did all y'all just see him give me the finger on that one? I made a small one.
Yeah, like don't come over here. Don't come over here. Yeah, don't come over here.
Ain't no plate over here. Ain't no plate for you.
Who has the fireworks?
Real
Who has
talk,
the
it was
fireworks?
smaller than I thought it would finish. It's like 4.5 pounds. I'll do much bigger last time because I actually did intend to share the wealth.
It's gonna be 2. It's gonna be 2 pounds. The next comment.
Say what?
It's gonna be
It's gonna
2
be
pounds.
2 pounds. The next comment. It went from 6 to 4.5. It's smaller and smaller. Julio, you better hurry.
Anybody got fireworks?
I'm putting chicken on
Pre
for
and
pops
post
after
weight,
this.
Jeff.
No
Where are
fire.
you? What city are you in?
Reds though.
Portland.
Portland?
Where are you, DJ?
I'm in Portland.
No, housewife.
Well, hotel-wise,
Wayne's Island.
No, hotel. I couldn't tell.
I could.
Don't do that.
I couldn't
Don't
tell.
do that. Y'all something else, man.
I could.
I thought
So,
it was a
so
legitimate
let me jump in here. Let me ask a question. though. I want to ask this. So, with the 4th, does this 4th feel different than anyone in the past 20 years for you? And if so, why?
Yes.
Why? Tell me why.
I would say, the first 4th of July I remember was the bicentennial. I remember 76. Summer of 76 was big, the Olympics. The thing I remember the most was the bicentennial court. That was a big deal for me.
Yeah.
And I remember that just like, I was into it all. The fireworks on the waterfront, all that. This feels very much like Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur. It's not my holiday.
Yep.
Right? I'm not going to say it's good or bad. It's just not my holiday for the first time. And it's my country. So I acknowledge it in some ways for what it represents in the timeline of the country, but it's not my holiday. So it feels different. It's much more clear of a break from it than in past years for me.
Yeah. It has always been a holiday we celebrated, not because of any great anniversary of the country. It's a family gathering holiday. And this one feels a little, hey, we can't family gather. So even if I didn't love the holiday, I can't even gather with my people. So that's taking something away from it. But even if I could, it would just be another family gathering with barbecue and good folks. And the knowledge, the awareness, and everything that's going on right now makes you less likely to want to embrace it. It's just, there's a negativity to it.
Yeah. Well, Reg, you said the 76. For me, it was like 81, the one I remember, because we took a car ride down to Georgia where my dad was from and had a family reunion. So the whole family was down there. And so as I think about the 4th, you're right, G, it was never really about the holiday. It was more about family gatherings. And most of the family reunions I went to were centered around 4th of July because that was the big, everybody was off. And so
good barbecue holiday.
Yeah, we did a lot of that. And my cousin had my first cousin had a birthday on the 5th. So we always did something, but it was, outside of fireworks, I've never really talked about the Independence Day as much, from that perspective. We might have wore red, white, and blue and had some Cortezes on, but that was it.
I feel like the celebratory nature of it is different, right? So because there's so much of a recognition around the country of the history and the hypocrisy of it, that we're not celebrating, but you kind of look sideways at those who are like, okay, are you kind of ignoring what we're talking about in the dialogue? And how do you feel about that? So, and I'm not saying everybody who celebrates feels that way. I'm just saying you kind of look that way and want to celebrate.
Let me ask you a
I'm the
question.
same. I wanted to add that we were the same. The one thing about celebrating, the one thing that we never were into was the flag. For me, for our family, like the flag was always a reminder of this isn't for us. And so that was, we always took advantage of the opportunity to connect as a family, but the flag was never a big part of it. And it was always that clear connection to the atrocities that, you know, our people have always been through. What were you saying, JD?
I was just I can piggyback, right? I was going to piggyback, but you segued really well. My question is to us is how do we, knowing that there isn't a black person, an African American, however you want to define us, that hasn't died for us in every one of the wars, right? They fought for us to vote. They've spilt their blood. They've got their heads cracked so that we could have rights. How do we reconcile celebrating their sacrifices, their challenges, and trying to move and say, we want a part of this flag too? Because I would contend that our blood, sweat, and tears is woven in the threads of that flag. And how does that manifest itself? And so I asked myself, what are you celebrating? Well, I'm definitely not celebrating Independence Day where all men are created equal, because we know that's a fallacy, right? And we can go into that. But I would say at this moment, I asked myself, how do I reconcile my brethren, you know, my relatives, our ancestors who gave their blood for this flag? So to be an equal citizen.
I don't think you have to reconcile the two, honestly, right? I think for me, like most of y'all, July 4th was a holiday to be around family, right? As I've gotten older, it's more about remembrance, right? And honoring and remembering those who came before. And I think that's fine, right? I think you don't have to reconcile the two. As Red said, you can love this country, right? But it's also okay to criticize that which you love.
Word.
I think and that's the challenge I think that we have as Black people, right? Is that we're always being pushed and pulled and having to reconcile things. I think it's okay if you let them be. I think we need to co-opt the holiday, as it sounds like most of us have done, right? For our own familial purposes.
Yeah, the reconciliation. I'm sorry, DJ.
No, go ahead, fellas.
Definitely no reconciliation, because there was intent when that flag was created, and the colors actually stand for something. And I don't know how aware we are, how much we care, but I believe it's valor, justice, and purity. And you can guess which color represents purity. Mm-hmm. So that was with clear intent. So I feel there's no reconciliation required at all. Mm-hmm. The flag as a reference point of intent, and that intent was exactly what happened to us.
Yeah,
well, that's deep.
The flag
I hadn't heard that.
The flag is what.
Sorry, Julio.
No worries. I was going to say my reconciliation, which isn't about me, but just has been on my mind a lot the last, I would say, couple of years. And Clip, you use the word co-opted. And I think my issue with the flag is what white folks have co-opted it to mean. It means red states. It means rah-rah. It means anything. And for me, I have almost no love these days for it at all.
I agree.
Because of what it's been co-opted to mean. And that is a subject that actually makes me angry, because to me, they have found a way to do things that are actually anti-Christian, anti-American, and call it the most American and Christian thing.
Right. So anti-patriotic. Right.
Yes. So to me, that's what I constantly struggle with. I got, plenty of love for the country, but I got plenty of dislike for what's happened there. So I don't represent it at all. But I kind of want to snatch it out of their hands and co-opt it back.
Let me say one thing, Reg, because I hear you. Because I think that if we think they're co-opted, I actually don't think they did. I think they just took us back to how it was created, and now we're realizing that. And I think that's a piece that I think that it also signifies, if you are connected to the flag, you're better than something else. you're better than something else. And so when you say I'm criticizing the flag, you automatically in their brain become inferior in some ways. And so that for me, and then the last thing, and then Reg, I know you want to say something, is I think you're right, Clip. We are put in a place where we have to make a choice all the time. Are you either this or are you either that? Are you, and I got to see, and I think I heard someone ask a black writer about writing about being black. And he said, only black writers get asked that. You don't hear anybody ask a woman writer, like, why are you only writing about women issues? And so though, I think we have to learn more how to hold both of them. And you can, to your point, you can criticize this country, you can criticize the system and still love the country. But we have to make a choice. Reg.
Yeah, do y'all remember, it's probably middle school or high school civics. And I forget the name of the case, but it's basically the case that, it's a free speech case that dealt with flag burning. And maybe it's a mid-'70s case. And what I remember is that the core takeaway and ruling was essentially that the flag was so important that it means nothing, right? Which is the values it purports to stand for are so strong that you can desecrate the flag and it not be desecration, right? You can burn the flag and be protected exactly for the things the flag is supposed to stand for, which is interesting to me because, one, the flag and the country are two different things, right? The flag is simply propaganda, as you laid out, DJ, to represent something. The values of the country, separate from the hypocrisy of them, is about the flag means nothing. It's irrelevant, right? It's not the same thing as what it means to be a citizen. It's not the same thing as what it means to be patriotic, because the ideas are beyond God, right? That's how the country was founded, as a non-religious or religious freedom country. It's beyond respecting the flag, right? You can disrespect the flag and still be a citizen in good standing. So it's interesting to me that the conversation of what the Fourth means gets muddled with whether or not the flag is of any importance, because it doesn't seem that the flag actually is of any importance.
But it's
that decision
the hypocrisy of the whole thing. If you go back to history, the country was founded upon protest. They were mad at the country they were in. They didn't like what was going on and protested and came here. And so then the hypocrisy of it is when you protest or when you don't like something that's going on here, you're now all of a sudden unpatriotic. Like, that's the hypocrisy of it.
Yeah.
Make you sit back and say, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah. And Red, that's Texas versus Johnson, 1989, when the decision came down.
Okay, thank you.
And I know you wasn't in middle school, so.
No. That's when the decision came
down. Wow.
What year was the case, sir? That's when it was ruled.
I'll figure out the case, but I'm pretty sure you.
The only reason I bring it up is because I remember debating about it in freshman debate. It was one of the major cases. It was about free speech and flag burning. It was the Skokie free speech case, and it was the Miranda rights case. And those are like the big three kind of pillars of civics that I remember.
It was 80. I think it was 84. You still wasn't in middle school.
I said middle school or high school, Negro. That was junior.
You did not say or high school, but I let you.
Are you recording this?
Yeah, we're running back.
Do y'all remember? It's probably middle school or high school civics. $5 bet.
Yeah,
run that back.
So here's the thing. So I the Fourth has always, it's always been something. And as we think about what was like some of the biggest things that were going on the Fourth, JD, I know you found out something about what happened on the Fourth, right?
Yeah. And it's not what I found out. We get in a lot of debates around boxing and the GOAT, and I dropped one time, and I don't know if Hooley remembers this, I dropped Jack Johnson, and Hooley was like, damn, JD, I didn't know you. And I'm not as versed as my brethren on current and mid-century boxing pugilistic prowess. But what I can say is my guy is Jack Johnson. And on to today, July 14th, 1910, I know that Money tried to steal my thunder because I'd already had talked to A Square, and it was just part of my thing. But the bottom line was the fight of the century with Jack Johnson, the giant from Galveston. He fights James Jeffries. They ban any kind of weapons. They ban apples. because there's 22,000 rabid fans because they talked this white dude out of coming out of retirement. And what he says, I'm coming out of retirement to prove white supremacy. There ain't going to be no Negro who's going to be the heavyweight champion of the world while I'm on this planet. He came out. Jack Johnson proceeded to beat him to a pulp for 15 rounds. And instead of him being killed on that floor, they threw in the towel because they didn't want a white man to be beat because it was being filmed, y'all. It was being filmed. Yes. And that film was the #1 viewed film for 5 years running, even though cities tried to ban it from their theaters. And it was only displaced by Birth of a Nation, 1915, by D.W.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead, brother. It's a good.
And the one thing about the story that I had never heard is the banning of the apples.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
these cats will turn an apple into a weapon.
Hey, you ever been hit with an apple? You ever been hit with an apple? Them things.
No, they banned.
Yeah, don't.
You been hit by an apple before?
No.
Me?
No.
Yeah, I've been hit by an apple before.
Who threw an apple at you?
Really?
Yeah. Y'all ain't had apple fights?
Listen, I live next door to a.
I've been in apple fights all my life.
I live next door to a fruit stand. So
I grew up near a cider mill. I mean, come on.
Applesauce.
Look. I got friends for apples.
Actually, I forgot. We had apple trees on the crib growing up. My brother and I used to throw them shits at each other. Absolutely.
I'm telling you, fam.
I've had an apple fall on my head before. No one threw an apple at me.
Oh, okay, Newton. Okay, Newton. Damn, the professor's in the house.
Wow. He just went there on us. He tried to slip that one by.
Somebody mentioned greatest of all time in boxing.
Yeah.
In boxing.
I believe it was Jay. Now here's my question.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between the GOAT, greatest of all time boxer, and Moat?
What's Moat?
Or Miat.
Oh, damn.
Most iconic of all time.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
Okay.
Ooh.
Might there be a difference?
You trying to
All I would say is this.
Hey.
Can
I say? Let me say something before we jump into it.
We got a new title to hand out.
My bot, most iconic boxer. My bot. Is that the same as GOAT?
So check this out, DJ. DJ, I knew we were coming here.
What does iconic mean?
Not if we making up acronyms and shit.
You asking me? In my opinion,
acronyms are made up.
I think iconic.
Good point, Rich.
Extends outside the ring.
Then yes, by definition, there is a difference.
Yeah,
has to be.
But they could be one and the same.
Yeah.
Yes.
They
could be one and the
Boxing,
same.
to me, that stays in the ring. That's about the best performer.
only in the ring.
When you say boxer, that's what that is.
Yeah.
My argument would then be for Jack Johnson is how many boxers fought 45 rounds?
See, I'm not saying
How many boxers who fought 20 rounds? That's about all I'll throw out. Now, that's all I can offer up. That's my view.
Well, I did a little research. So it's this website called BoxRec.
If we don't have
BoxRec.
Research. Are we cutting the time, or is it all time? Are we gonna do Jack Johnson?
No, we're gonna do whoever you think is the greatest all time. We already know where you going. So let me just tell you.
Because there's only one. That's why you know where I'm going. It's easy.
Listen, I will tell you this. I still control the mute. Listen, no, but I did the BoxRec. They had the top 50 boxers. They put the top 50 boxers, and check it out. It was like
Who's they?
It's called BoxRec. It's BoxRec. They did it. Hey, I'm not. All I'm saying is I went and did some research.
It's the OAN of boxing.
They said,
"Oh wow,
boxers get 200 per point."
Burt Sugar up in there.
Breitbart Sports.
But seriously, the key is like they ran out the top 5 and they gave them based on points for beating number 1s and number 2s in the division, awarded points for pound performance, and they awarded points for in all what you won in all divisions. So check it out.
Do we want to hear that before offering?
I'm just telling. Yeah, I definitely want to tell you. I just want to tell you because it's gonna blow us all out. So that's
it's not because I think it aligns with where I'm at.
Okay. All right. Number one.
Clip just let us know he was right.
Go
5 to 4.
Yeah.
No.
All right. So can I get to number one? Because
why do you get to go with some bullshit ass whatever survey
can I Red? So can I just
No,
get
moderator,
what they
next
said?
Go ahead, Antoine.
Number five. Number 5.
Why? Hold on, stop. Before you go, why wouldn't we discuss what we think, and then you can kind of.
Well, I'm telling you
That
what
would
they
position that
said.
bullshit as the authority.
I'm just
9 people on the screen that I care about. I don't care about what some.
Well, let's react to it. Can I just give you something to react to? I know you already, man.
Mute button. Go ahead, roll.
Yeah, you got power of the mute, baby. You got power of the mute.
Number 5, Ali.
Number 5?
Number 4, Sugar Ray Robinson.
Immediately.
Can you give us? You said there's points. Can you give us?
Come on, number 3.
So Ali
read
at
them.
1485.
Just read them.
Sugar Ray Robinson at 1512. Carlos Monzon at 1586. Manny Pacquiao at 1637.
And
number one with 2,257 points,
Pretty boy.
Floyd Mayweather.
He's number 1.
Yeah.
He's number 1.
Yeah, you know what? Let's just not even talk about it now.
Bullshit. That fits your
I missed who was number 2.
Number 2 was Manny Pacquiao.
The whole thing is irrelevant when you start with Ali at 5.
Well, Sugar Ray Robinson was in the top 5. And who's number 4?
Who's 4?
It's
Sugar Ray Robinson.
Oh, I thought you meant Leonard. I'm sorry, I missed it.
Sugar Ray Robinson was number 4 at 1512.
Okay.
So Ali was 5.
So yeah, I'm not feeling that.
What was Tyson?
Huh? Tyson wasn't even in the top 50.
Because this was some points and stats and
pull
no eye test and no credit for someone who fought everyone they put in front of him, but a lot of credit for someone who managed their career, waited until Pacquiao was 50, and then kind of worked their way through. And again, I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but it's the same thing.
That's not how it's developed, though, right? Because
if you can come,
it's about beating people who are ranked 1, 2, 3.
That was it.
Right? So he's not fighting jokers. He's fighting everyone you put in front of him.
And they said you get extra points.
However,
maybe later.
Did they give them the points of when they gave them the points for their whole career, not when they fought him? So if you put Pacquiao at 50 and Pacquiao got all these points for the shit he did.
No, that's not. You just made up. That's not how it works.
To take somebody's power. That's the Highlander. It's a different thing.
And is there a correction for the quality of fighter they were fighting against?
Like they had to be ranked number 1 or 2. Ranking 1 or 2.
In that era,
though. Number 2, 3, 4,
in that
5,
era.
So what we did was take your bullshit ranking, and now we're having a discussion about that.
What's your top 5? What's your top 5? What's your top 5?
It don't matter.
Yeah. Why not? Well, let's start.
What's your top 5?
Top 5? What's the conversation?
I mean, what's your GOAT? What's your GOAT? I mean, the GOAT. I'm giving you top 5 so we can give you some options because he got Ali in all top 5.
No, 1.
He got Ali, Cassius Clay, Ali, Cassius Clay.
Right.
Ali.
Right. That one. See that works. I ain't gonna dispute it. Ali pre-suspension and Ali post-suspension. Yeah, you can do those two.
Okay.
He lost 3 years out of his career, still beat people's ass when he came back.
We didn't say he didn't beat anybody, but
so maybe he's in the battle of most iconic. Maybe he's in the battle of most iconic.
So can we just
we
go
knew
around?
why that was introduced.
Hey DJ, most iconic. Ali's in the battle of most iconic.
So in the ring, so you said Money, you say Ali, I said Floyd. DJ, who you?
For GOAT or my bot?
Say that again.
Oh, the power of the microphone.
Go. You just made that up. I'm not going with that.
Yeah. My bot.
My bot.
I say Floyd.
Okay. Dizzle.
I'm gonna go Jack Johnson.
Okay. Reg.
For me, the greatest fighter of all time is Joe Louis. I never saw him fight real time, but I think that when you take the lens you took on Jack Johnson and what he had to deal with to fight.
Yep.
Think about Joe Louis fighting in the shadow of Nazi Germany, losing to him and coming back and crushing Smelling. Right? All that, and what the Brown Bomber had to deal with, Joe Louis.
He was 6 on that list, by the way.
That's right.
Not iconic, though.
I like that.
Say that again. Harry.
Is there a difference between the most iconic and the greatest of all time?
Not when you ask me who I think the GOAT is.
Yeah.
Right. Those things can be the same. I feel you, Rich.
Harry,
there's no question Ali's the most iconic.
Yeah.
I think that's easy.
Yeah.
But for me, full body of work is Ali. And before the break, that Ali would be any heavyweight in my mind. So Ali definitely number one.
So that's a little bit of.
Can we keep going around and get everybody?
Yeah, let's go around. So, Clip.
Money Mayweather.
Money, okay.
Money Mayweather, 50-0. I think his glove hit the canvas maybe twice.
Zab Judah had one of those.
Not the most exciting boxer, right? He only knocked out maybe half of the cats in his fights.
But he whooped them all.
If you think about the sweet science, the skill of boxing, he could tap you up better than anybody.
Yeah.
54% KO percentage.
50-0, it's hard to. Yeah, 50-0 is serious.
And never really hurt, never really stung.
I would only almost word for word repeat what Harrington said.
Okay.
Ali, especially Ali, pre-suspension or time off.
Oh, so you're going to repeat word for word. Okay, keep going.
Did it in one sentence. One sentence. He took 3.
Duty.
Efficiency.
I'm gonna go with Ali for a couple reasons. One, which will come into play with any other future GOAT discussions we have. Some people started their careers with a plan to be known as the GOAT at the end, and it guided who they fought, how they fought, who they didn't fight, how they racked up multiple wins without. It's a different game. You know, LeBron coming in and jumping team to team to team is a different game. So you kind of have to accept that certain people, based on how they approach things, had a goal. It wasn't to be the top heavyweight. It was to be the greatest of all time, and that guided how they ran their career. And I don't believe the fighters back in the day had that vision, and they relished taking on the toughest guy out there, short notice, long notice, getting down and getting back up. Like, there was no fear of a loss. You fought whoever they put in front of you, and I think that was just a different mentality. And I think if they wanted to, they could amass the same record had they started their careers with that goal at the outset. So it's just a time difference, but I'm still going to go Ali.
Go ahead, Rich.
It's not equivalent with Jeff directly. It is a recognition that the older you go, the further you go back in time in boxing, with few exceptions, the weaker the power that boxer had to choose what they were doing. Yep. Meaning, the hand behind the sport, the managers, the agents, the promoters, maybe not with Jack Johnson, maybe not with Ali, but damn near every other fighter you talk about was a function of the choices their management structure and promoters were making. The fights are not chosen by the fighters most of the time.
Yeah. And everybody said, I've heard this like 3 or 4 times, body of work. And when I think body of work, it's from the first time you fight to the last time you fight. And there was a time in Ali's period where that lasts to the 5 or 7 or 8, 10 fights where he was not great.
So that's the same thing. That's the same reason we don't have Mike Tyson.
I think Shaq's last season was shit too. He's still the most dominant.
We talking. I didn't know Shaq was a boxer. I ain't know Shaq boxed, but
when we get to basketball, Antoine's got Karl Malone.
But see, so I think that's the same reason.
No.
That's the same managing your career. I'm not going to fight anymore because I don't want to disrupt my legacy.
Here's my question: how are you managing your career when Pacquiao's actually younger than Floyd? By the way. Let's just say that. Let's get that out there. He's younger than Floyd. So what are you managing? Secondly, we would also have Mike Tyson in this conversation if it was about 2 eras of a boxer. So there's a reason we don't have Mike in this. If we go first half Mike, there's no conversation.
There's none.
But why do we only go first half when it's Ali?
I didn't hear you. What'd you say, DJ? I didn't hear you. Wait a minute. I'm having technical
DJ. First half.
Yeah, with Ali, we said a full body of work.
Actually, think about Ali's, one of the most defining fights of Ali, if we go back to it, think about what George Foreman and who George Foreman was when Ali fought Foreman and beat his ass, and no one expected it. But we talk about great fighters. And
how many other people did he beat their ass and no one expected it?
Fight when Foreman was at his top and beat the shit out of him.
But he also lost to Joe Frazier. So all I'm saying is that's cool.
Joe Frazier's a bad man.
Losses too.
Joe Frazier's a bad man.
He wasn't bad when he fought Foreman. So all I'm saying is,
because Foreman was a bad man. That makes what Ali did to Foreman.
He lost to Frazier once. He beat him twice.
Yes.
Yeah, but he lost to Frazier.
But he lost.
I'm trying to think of who
he lost to Frazier.
Who did Mayweather lose to?
3 fucking years. Like seriously.
Who did Mayweather?
I'm being petty, Antoine.
Huh? Who did Mayweather lose to?
Like the rotisserie baseball fan.
IRS. Nice. Undefeated.
Again, if we're going to talk Ali, I think
you line up the bowling pins, you know.
Nah, come on, man. Come on now. Come on.
Like the whole, like who did he lose to? He managed his career. Like Red said, he had more opportunity to manage who he lined up in front of him.
So tell me, name 2 bums.
Who did he not fight?
Say that.
Who did name a bum?
Who did he avoid? He fought Bab Judah. He fought Oscar De La Hoya. He fought Pacquiao.
Didn't he fight Shane?
He fought Shane. Who did he avoid?
When? In their prime?
Pacquiao's younger than him.
I'm Ali. I'm really not trying to go to Zaire and fight George Foreman, big ass George Foreman, when he's whooping people.
Well,
so tell me Ali's last 5 fights. Should I look that up? Do you want me? No, stop. No, you can't do that. We just said body of work. What was the last 5 Ali fights?
You're tripping.
Blair Holmes fight one of them?
Yeah. I'm just saying, you keep saying body of work. Don't say body of work.
I didn't say body of work. I said the Foreman fight. I didn't say body of work.
You brought that up.
I didn't say body of work. I said the most iconic fight was the Foreman fight when Foreman was in his prime.
I like the words you use. I like
most iconic. Most iconic.
I like the words you use.
Number 2. I'm not trying to. It's interesting. Y'all try to make it like I'm trying to take Floyd down.
No, we're not.
The idea that I think there's a huge difference between Ali and everybody else who laced them up. That's just me.
Just in the ring. Just in the ring.
In the ring.
Really? In the ring.
In the ring.
Agreed.
You're saying Floyd? There's a huge gap between.
No one has ever been seen, and this might be the heavyweight bias. Yeah. Nobody has ever been seen.
I have number 2. That just
tells you a hero
like Ali.
No one's ever what you?
Been seen like they were some sort of larger-than-life superhero. I mean, Tyson and Ali.
He was.
I mean, those 2. I mean, I don't know who else. There's been a lot of heavyweight champions.
Sugar Ray Leonard, who
he said heavyweight.
Well, he said maybe that was his heavyweight bias.
I mean, those were the 2 that I remember. Sugar Ray was
popular.
No,
popular.
Ray.
He's in my top 5.
Let's go back well before Hagler and all that.
Special.
When he beat Wilfredo Benitez.
Yes.
Do you know how old he was when he beat that man? And Wilfredo was a killer.
Yes. Yeah. Don't know how old he was. No.
So to me, that was a teenager. But so the conversation between Ali and the Sugar is a very similar conversation to me, except Sugar did it in several weight classes. And I believe Sugar's winning percentage was higher, and Sugar was a knockout artist.
Yes, he was.
How are we gonna do this?
Sugar was nice.
When Ali was in the heavyweight, he gonna lose weight and fight welterweight? What the fuck?
See, powerful.
Stop with the weight class.
Is this discussion a pound for pound or greatest boxer discussion?
It was paying pound for pound, right?
It had to have been because we had all kinds of different weight classes.
Pound for pound is GOAT.
Right,
right. So I got his last 5 fights.
Don't do that.
And we
Don't
don't
do it
care.
to
We all got Google.
Lose some
We
friends.
really don't care.
Are you going to
Last
read that
five.
list?
Yeah, I'm
off
gonna read
again
it.
Where Ali was
So-
number 5 to start
We
this
got
off?
OAN
No.
news.
So
First
we
we'll
gonna
gonna
talk about
the
1,
feud
2, 3,
whatever.
4, 5, and it's not bad. In 77, he beat Ernie
When he
Shavers.
probably had Parkinson's, and he
So-
was still lacing them up.
Okay. Can I just get him out? I just get him out.
No, it's really irrelevant. So
Oh.
no. But thank you.
Ernie
for listening.
Shavers, he beat Ernie Shavers, he lost to Leon Spinks. He beat Leon
Beat
again.
Leon.
He got knocked out by Larry Holmes, TKO, and then he lost to Trevor Burbick. So what is he? 1, 2, 3, 2 and 3. His last 5, not bad.
You know why Mike
I asked the question, and
He
who
should
did?
have stopped fighting before he had those 5.
How
I
was
think
he in those last 5 fights? What age range was he then?
fighting. Everyone
Late 30s.
said he shouldn't have been fighting in those last 5.
Right.
Yeah.
Except Floyd.
Yeah.
Except Floyd.
A piece of info that you just added.
Except Floyd Mayweather.
Shouldn't have been fighting.
Except
Floyd
okay.
The last two in
So-
particular.
because he didn't.
He shouldn't have fought.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have fought. Body of work, but not really body of work. Like what we talking about? Like,
Wait, you forgot he had Parkinson's.
and he had Parkinson. He had Parkinson.
Look,
He had-
I didn't say body of work, but if you want to go body of work, he fought everyone they put in front of him. They took the
So did
best
Floyd.
years of his career away from him, and he still would have. And he
I'm
was
giving
still
you
bad
that.
when he came back.
I'm giving
So-
you that.
Everyone they put in front of him and won. So stop.
Those last 5 fights, Antoine, are about money.
Yeah, they are.
Right? They're about
They are.
money. They're about, I'm about to retire. I'm a little shaky already. You stole the good years of my prime.
Yep.
You gotta chase the bag.
But hold up.
Hey,
So
But
he
I
fought.
mean,
I'm
But
not
he
trying to
took
change the
L's.
criteria. I'm just saying, let's be fair.
Yeah. At a certain.
Contextualize it.
Yeah. At a certain point, it kind of comes down to experience and eye test on this because I personally, I can't go stats. I just can't go into stats because of the way they approached their careers at the time they did. It completely changes what they were trying to accomplish. And not that everybody wants to win every fight, but some people want to craft their careers for a look-back legacy view. And I just think that sets them apart.
Jeff, give me 2 fighters that you're referring to in the context of Floyd. Because you're talking about Floyd right now.
In
What did he do?
how current day people have crafted their careers,
Yeah, you're saying Floyd crafted his career. Tell me what you mean by that.
I just think there's more of an effort from the beginning to the middle to see yourself goal-wise as the GOAT. And you orchestrate your career, who you fight, who you don't. Any single loss he knows is awful. So he's going to try to make sure that he doesn't take fights maybe that were more dangerous. And I think
Like
in the
who?
past,
Like who?
Like
it's
who?
not-
Did he avoid?
Like who?
Like who?
So again, I'm not the fight historian on Floyd, but I remember
Okay.
watching it. Okay,
So then-
I'll finish. I'll finish. But I remember during it, everybody who wasn't a Floyd lover was ripping him for dodging Pacquiao and pushing
One.
it off for another 2, 3, or 4 years. I don't
Yeah.
know how long that was, but again, am I wrong just because I can't name them? Am I wrong that people now don't approach their careers with an eye to the legacy? We wouldn't talk about is so-and-so damaging their legacy by doing this if that wasn't a current consideration where it wasn't in the past.
Yeah. Well,
But
I'll
that's-
say
that's where
Past
that's
is
in.
exciting.
But that's why we don't make it an emotional argument. That's why we use statistics to basically level set all of that. Because no one can name one person. We have to keep
But-
in mind.
well,
They
and
said he was avoiding
But I
Pacquiao.
think statistics are bastardized.
no,
that's
here's
just my point
what
of
I
view.
would say.
And a GOAT
He
discussion
fought
ain't
two
about
cats.
discussion.
He fought 2 cats in their prime. He fought Canelo. He fought Canelo and Ricky Hatton, who were just going to be the best, and beat both of them in there. They were both in their prime.
Shame
Ricky
on
Hatton?
Yeah, Ricky was. Come on, Ricky was
Was
coming
Ricky
off.
Hatton good?
Yeah, he was. He was
At
number
that
1 or
time,
2
hey, no,
at
Anthony.
that time.
At that time, he was this big, and he knocked him out.
Yes.
He
And
was a
Canelo-
big
Okay.
thing.
Canelo was bigger than him.
Respect
and everything.
Floyd.
No, he
I
was a
respect
Tommy
Floyd.
Morrison of the heavyweight. He was Tommy Morrison. That's what he was. He wasn't that great.
Zab Judah in his prime.
Now, Zab Judah, that's a different conversation.
Yep.
Zab was in his prime.
I would add,
We keep talking about Pacquiao. I'll say it again. Pacquiao, first of all, was on that juice.
And they all knew it.
And the reason he didn't fight in the first time because Pacquiao wouldn't get that test done.
That's what happened.
That's
what
real.
happened.
That's a fair point.
That's true. That's true.
It was about the blood test. Exactly right.
Yep. So I mean, it's.
And that was ego, right? That was no one wanted to acknowledge that Floyd was driving the bus. He was bringing the crowd. He was making the money. He was the one calling the shots. And that's why Bob Arum didn't fuck with him or his camp. I mean, whether or not Floyd's 1 or 2, I don't know. I do know that part of why he fought who he fought was the larger context of y'all not gonna sun me when I'm the best in the game.
That's right.
I ain't got to fight your man if you're gonna disrespect me in the process.
But when I fight him, you're gonna know I fought him and he won't want to see me again.
Yeah. Listen. I still think the most iconic fight I can remember is when Floyd beat Arturo Gotti ass like he caught him in the bedroom with his wife. He just beat him and beat him. I remember watching
JD,
it going,
you got that editor?
Yeah, I got it. We're going to have to dig into our pockets on the editors.
Yeah, but I was like, I mean, I don't. He beat him to death and wouldn't knock him out. Just beat him up just enough to keep him up. So yeah. Woo.
And there's a part of me that also, and it may be time. Everybody who came up now, they all came up wanting to be Ali. He was the blueprint for anybody out there.
He's the most
I don't
iconic
know if that's
fighter.
just time, but I give him that credit.
I see you,
But
man.
I mean, dude sat in the ring and told a trash talking brother, say my name. What's my name? Muhammad Ali, and continued to beat his ass.
But G, you're saying now, you realize when Floyd's first fight was, don't you?
No, I don't.
You're saying now, but
it was a professional fight?
Yeah.
He was in World Olympics and got DQ. What was that? 88 Olympics?
80. Oh,
no, 88, right?
Let's look it up.
He turned pro in 1996.
Okay, so he's in the 92 Olympics?
Hey, Cliff, move your head for me. Move your head. There he is.
That's 24 years, right? I mean, so he's been in the game for a minute. I hear what you're saying, dude, but I think that's a hater's paradise, is to say he didn't fight. And then the minute he whoops that butt, like he did Canelo, they build up every fight. Remember Maidana was supposed to get in?
That was a good fight. That
was a real good fight.
Absolutely.
That was a good fight.
Maidana was all on him.
So here's an argument. Here's an argument both for and against Floyd. Almost none of his fights do you look back and go, that was one of the greatest fights ever. He was actually so good that he made so many of the fights boring.
Look easy.
It's hard for him to win the eyeball test to GOAT, which is why stats are hard to matter.
He was in a war.
Somebody and go, whoa, damn. So my point is, it's both for and against him, because I've seen Floyd fight 25 times and don't remember the fights that well. Because
if I beat somebody all the time really bad.
He was good, yes, and he dominated, but the caliber of his opponents versus others that we're discussing, if it's Ali.
And I don't put Floyd number one, but he made him look bad.
He's fighting the number one in the division.
He fought who they put in front of him, or who he put in front of him. I get
it was everyone, right? It was everyone who was ranked.
He's fought Cotto.
He wasn't fighting busters, right? And when we make the comparison, when you make the comparison,
I'm not saying they were busters. I'm just saying the era had a bunch of busters.
Hey, can Clip finish? Can Clip finish?
No, yeah, but to me that's like saying, well, Tiger Woods is as good as Jack Nicklaus because all the other cats didn't win majors. He won them all. He won them all. He dominated. That's like saying the '85 Bears weren't great because they weren't a high-scoring team, right? I don't remember many of their games, but I think they're on the Mount Rushmore of greatest NFL teams.
Wins and losses.
You talk science.
Only because they're undefeated.
Point scoring.
No, they lost one. Miami Dolphins.
I get your Tiger argument. The Bears now.
Yeah, I mean,
going everywhere, bro, because y'all bringing in random shit.
Yeah, it's like the body.
Yes.
Can we conclude with 4 Ali, 3 Mayweather, a Jack Johnson, and a Joe Louis?
Who?
3 Mayweathers?
3 Mayweather.
Okay.
4 Ali, a Jack
It's a long
Johnson,
vowel.
and
Joe Louis.
and the Joe Louis.
Not for today, but another day, we should limit it to who we saw fight.
Ooh. That's a good one. That's a good one.
That helps.
Old stuff. Like, I can't really evaluate Joe Louis.
I agree.
So then who do you and Dixon go with?
I'm with you, Ham. I'm with you, Ham. I would probably go.
So y'all get to change y'all vote.
He's saying only 2 cats did that.
I know right now. Yeah.
Hey, the Mayweather team want to revote because they behind right now.
Nah. We got our stats to prove it.
I mean, yeah, I'm probably gonna go Team Money just because the stat. I mean,
he said Team Money.
Yeah.
Who did he fight?
Team Money. Team Money. Wow.
Y'all cats, boy.
Oh
What's
man.
interesting in this discussion.
I feel blows coming from the left and right today.
That's hilarious.
Oh.
What's interesting to me is that the Mayweather-Ali conversation is kind of a Jordan-LeBron conversation.
Yeah, which is a
right.
Yeah.
If you take undefeated in the championships and undefeated record, if you take multiple-time champion but also losing multiple times in the finals, there's a lot of comparison between Mayweather, Jordan, and LeBron.
Money.
Who's
So answer me this: why are the same
Money.
Ali was Jordan in that analogy.
Ali was
Why are the
Jordan.
same brothers who take Ali against
Nah, I can't say Ali is Jordan in that.
No,
I'm not saying
It's
I'm
the other way
saying.
around. It's the other way around.
Ali is LeBron.
The other way around.
Yeah,
The other way around.
okay. I could go with
Ali is
Jordan.
LeBron. Mayweather's
Or
Jordan.
in this
But
case,
see, but no, you can
case-
argue the opposite, right? You can say LeBron managed his situation like Mayweather did, whereas Ali did not.
But
I'm
Mayweather
just
didn't
saying that
manage it.
LeBron lost in the finals multiple times. Ali got beat multiple times.
Yeah.
Michael won in the finals all 6 times. Mayweather's never been beat.
Right. We just get money with this. The money just hit us with this.
If that's the case, Montana's the GOAT, not Brady, because he never lost a Super Bowl, never threw a pick in one.
Yeah.
You can go to
Yeah,
stats. But again, you can get the stats get troublesome when you start going there because you have to put Kobe up above.
But the emotion is fine.
I should use my guts.
That's a
use my guts.
That's a bad. But I
I'm
love.
gonna use my guts. I'm gonna use my guts, yo.
The emotion is objective. But here's the deal.
All right.
Why do we not have? My question is, why are we not talking Mike Tyson? Because
Mike Tyson is similar.
And Mike, or are we back in boxing?
He bit somebody's ear off, man.
But I think that's the piece of like we actually for Ali you actually say, oh, that was okay, that was Ali. He had a little Parkinson's. He shouldn't have been fighting. He lost 3 years. Like you do all of those things
that's my point.
to elevate him, right?
Yeah, but
he
no,
was 2 for 3, but the 2 shots he hit won the game.
We just don't grade those people at the end of their career for that, or give bonus points for rings in a team sport, or penalize people for fighting really tough fights in their era. Again, if you want to just go stats, game over. We don't have to talk about anything.
Yeah, but why we keep saying he didn't fight really tough fighters in his era? You did say that. You said
I said he orchestrated his career. Don't put words in my mouth.
That's the same.
So I was trying to transition this to the worst. Talking about 45. And what's upcoming 2020 elections, which not only is just the general, but you got a lot of state seats out there as well. So, the question is, I looked at some polls. Biden in the polls. First, let me say this: they both flawed, Biden and Trump. Right? We all would agree. What do you think is the most critical thing in coming up in the 2020 general election that's going to have an impact on it? When you think about, like for me, traffic voters is going to be one thing, and the suppression of it is going to be huge. Like what else? What else is out there?
Keeping Biden out of the public and off the screen as long as you can.
Huge.
Huge.
I realize that's huge, and I realize A2 started with it. They're both flawed. All politicians are flawed. But why is Biden held to a standard of don't fuck up when the person that won and is in office is a complete fuck up?
Because the Republicans have no problem being transparent. And historically, Democrats do. And to the extent
So why are we doing that? Why do we try to tear down the one person that can take the really?
Well, we're not trying to tear him down, but we're telling the truth.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I'm not trying to tear him down at all. Actually, I hope he wins.
I didn't say you. In the public, like, so if Biden goes out and makes a gaffe,
Democrats are held to a higher standard.
They hold
Democrats hold themselves.
Yes.
to a higher standard.
Yeah,
nobody else
That's
knows.
Boogie.
more of that.
That's why
That's
Al
what I'm
Franken isn't around anymore, and he didn't really hardly do anything.
100.
But
Well,
if
yeah.
you do anything at all, Pardon me?
If that was your lady, you would have knocked his ass out.
which one where he posed like this, like he was gonna touch her when she was like that one? I might have missed something.
She was asleep on an airplane with 4 or 5 dudes.
Who was that?
Who we talking about?
Al Franken. when he
Oh
was
yeah,
on-
yeah.
He grabs them. He doesn't act like he's going to grab
Oh,
them.
okay. I didn't know he grabbed him. I thought he posed for a photo like this.
And like,
And they
hey,
took a picture.
take some pictures, like playing with him and stuff.
You know all
And
those
she wakes
details.
up, I mean,
Check.
come on, dog.
Yeah,
That's
Check, check.
but that is a good
But
question, though,
DJ,
Marty.
you're being a good Democrat right now. You're holding him to a standard that the
Yes,
Republicans don't hold.
You
him
are.
Nice, Hooli.
So,
Nice,
when-
Hooli.
When they
Nice.
stop holding
22
themselves
rate,
to that
20
shit,
rate,
we don't care.
22. 22.
Was that,
He
wait,
froze. You
There he
froze,
is.
bro.
there he
You
is.
froze. You
You
froze.
froze.
You can't be all slick
You're
when you
unfroze
freeze.
now. Go ahead. Just say it again.
Yeah, restate it.
You're
22
fine now,
what?
dude. Just say it again.
What did you say, Jeff?
22.
Ah.
Stations.
Ah.
Sexual assault. Excuse me.
Damn.
You're on that dial
The
up. We didn't
president
hear you.
currently has. What?
You froze again.
The AOL
You
dial
froze
up
again.
is working for you.
What's the?
Your
I'm
thing
lost.
Your thing froze. Your thing froze.
One more time, Jeff. Say it again.
I think y'all heard it, right?
No, we
No, we
didn't.
didn't.
You froze. We didn't hear you.
Swear to
Sexual
God.
assaults, something, 22 of them.
I mean, I'm done with that dude. Man.
Yeah, he's done.
Everybody's frozen.
Frozen, bro. We see you.
You're frozen. You're frozen. Bro.
Well, I think the voter turnout, Antoine,
Yeah,
is
voter
a big
turnout.
deal.
Yeah,
That's real.
And the
That's real.
voter suppression
Yes.
It's a big-
tactics that these cats are out there doing at the same time. It's like one thing about those polls, I don't get caught up in it because we know that behind the scenes they're doing all types of dirty deeds, shutting down polls,
True that.
or you know what I mean. And
Yep.
so that's
Yep.
that for me. That's the biggest thing.
yeah. I heard. I was listening.
Is that the turnout will be there because people are so angry right now. I mean, we're 5 months out or however many. But I think right now you'd have anger and people are going to do what it takes to vote. I do think the suppression is a real deal. The only way that he can even think about winning is to suppress the vote because the vote.
They've been doing that since Florida, since
Yeah.
hanging chads.
I agree.
Win at all costs has been a modus operandi.
I was listening to a podcast and they said that the majority of whites have not voted for a Democrat since 1964
Right.
presidential election. And so,
LBJ only because JFK got killed.
yeah. And they said, and the other thing was
Black Lives
they
Matter.
talked about voter suppression, and they talked about through Obama, so Asians, Latinos, Black, like this the path to suppression. Anything that they felt like helped get Obama in, they've been suppressing that over time. So turnout's going to be important, and I think people's stamina, being able to stand online and do whatever, because they're going to suppress it.
So
Yeah,
if you could get Senate and Congress and lose president, or get president and lose the other two houses, would you trade either one?
Take the Senate and the House over the presidency all day, every day.
Yeah, me too.
Yep, that's
Me
what.
too.
I wouldn't in this next election because I think the Supreme Court is going to be key. And
Ooh. Yep.
You need the Senate.
RBG is hanging on by a thread right
Yeah.
now.
Kennedy's gone.
But
But I think
McConnell is more problematic than Trump.
if you get Senate and House, can you protect that?
Yes. You
Mm.
can guard against
You can guard it. There's some guardrail there, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, you
You're
could
right.
do what they did to Obama, right? They didn't
Garland.
even bring it
Judge
to a
Garland.
vote.
Yeah,
Judge
I'm with
Garland.
you, Clip. I think that the court is the key one, but I do think if you get the Senate, and they have the House, so you assume they continue the House, you get the Senate, you have a little bit of a guardrail against that.
Yeah.
The problem is what that means is Trump is in the White House for 4 more years.
No, he gets
And
impeached. He gets
his
impeached.
use of executive orders and all other, shenanigans. We can't stand another 4 more years of this cat.
JD,
The
your
number of
JD just
judges
said
that have been
something. JD just said
confirmed
something.
should shock and frighten us all.
I don't want,
If they get the Senate, they get it, but they won't get 2/3.
Fair.
but let's let JD just said something. If the Dems get the House and the Senate, he gets impeached.
He gets
You got to get
impeached.
I think
2/3.
so.
of the
They
Senate.
won't get
It
two.
wouldn't
If
get
his
2/3.
vice president becomes president, that doesn't really.
No, he won't.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You don't
They
want
won't
that.
have enough in the Senate to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
We have to see it play out.
What we
But
don't
I
want
want
is the
Congress
presidency
more than I
without
want-
the other two.
The White House, and I want state legislatures more than I want both.
Right.
Right. I want governorships.
But here's
I
the
want
question.
I don't even want governorships. I want
The
state
the
legislatures.
Democrats don't get the Senate without getting the White House. If he wins the White House, there's no way the Senate falls. That's,
So
I mean,
do
that's a
you
theoretical conversation, but that won't happen.
My
Let's-
biggest issue. Go ahead.
go ahead.
My biggest issue is November 4th. I don't think the country's ready, regardless.
Ready
Either
how?
way, regardless of where this goes down.
Is that the day after?
Shit on November 4th.
Transition.
Yeah. I don't
Either
think
way.
so. I think it's gonna be crazy.
day after.
But I also do believe if he smells he possibly is gonna lose, it'll be crazy before then.
That's why he's crazy right now because he smells
Yep.
it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
Hales.
why he's posting.
Stephen
the-
Miller is running everything now. That
Yes.
shit he did at Mount Rushmore.
Yes.
Bruh.
Ooh.
Yes.
It's not just the spots he picks; it's the language he uses that's derivative. He came in acting like Andrew Jackson and Woodrow Wilson.
Yep.
Now you hear the language that they're using. It's all been, there are antecedents to everything he's talking about in his speeches, and they're just picking different moments in time. Summer of 1919, Earth of, like all of that stuff. And he's talking about stuff now that sounds like anarchy, right? He's talking about anarchists in the early 20th century stuff. All that stuff is referencing milestones on the path of a settler nation and white supremacy in halls of elected offices. He's not original in anything that he's doing, but you can see it all playing out. He is desperate now. He does smell loss, and he don't want to win. He
Yeah.
don't want that fucking job.
Right.
No, he don't.
But he don't want
But
the
he don't-
law
but-
coming down
but-
on him if he loses.
Yeah, he don't want to lose. He'd be like, the only reason I threw it, I didn't want it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that-
November 4th things will be interesting because I with the mail-in and the fights that are there, I don't think it's going to be called election night. I think it's going to be a few weeks beyond that.
That's right.
It's going to be one dirty clusterfuck.
It
It's
is.
going to
That's
be
gonna
a
be tense.
dirty.
I'm
But
worried about that.
what are we talking about
Every
here,
digital
though, right?
machine is worthless.
But to me, the biggest issue is who Biden picks as his running mate,
Yeah,
right? Because, I mean, we're having a conversation about who's going to win the presidency, but the reality is, out of the 50 states, we probably already know how 40 of them are going to go, blue or red. There's a handful of states, Florida, Pennsylvania, Michigan, New Mexico. Those are the
Wisconsin,
5, 6, 7, 8
Ohio.
states that are going to decide this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So,
And
I
right
don't
now,
think the VP pick is going to have any of them is going to turn either any of them. I think the VP pick is important for him to show that he doesn't make a mistake, but I don't think whether he puts Harris or Rice or whoever on the ticket is going to flip those states.
no,
And
but-
how do you
but
think
that's
it'll-
my problem with it? That's my problem with it is I think he's in a corner right now because I feel like he feels like, look, 3 months ago he felt like he had to have a woman. Then it was a person of color. Now it's a black woman specifically,
yeah,
right? But is a black woman going to help him win Florida or
No.
Arizona or New Mexico? right? So I worry that we're not thinking about the electoral college map. This is it's not a democracy, it's a republic.
Yeah.
Right? It's not one person, one vote.
And Clip, that's where I'm going. I'm thinking about, I'm looking at those, like, because Biden is up in Florida by 9 points, up in Michigan by 9. He's tied in Ohio, up by 11 and right now in Wisconsin, and 10 in Pennsylvania. And none of the, like, if he makes it a black woman, how will the white folks who have not voted in the majority for a Democrat react to that?
But if he doesn't make it a black woman, how are the black folks going to react?
Yeah.
Yes.
He's in a spot. Yes. He's in a tight spot, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting thing, because I think that's the piece where Trump over the next 2 months through the summer is going to be very interesting, because to your point, Reg, he smells it. So, like, what do you, and maybe you all know, like, what's the one outside of Corona, what's the one thing you're going to be watching with Trump to see where he's going as far as
Trump. Sorry.
Trump. I'll get to Biden. Trump. Besides Corona.
Stop watching him and watch the party. It's not him. He's not the problem. That entire fucking organization is the problem.
I agree.
But I hear you. He's good TV, and he's good headlines, and he's good Twitter shit. The rest of the organization is a mess. They're as dangerous as him. He could disappear. He could drop dead, and they'd be just as dangerous. Even more dangerous.
Well, we're recording this.
To me, it's his base.
Yeah.
It's not just him. It's his base, right? It's these, the white folks that are backing him, and the culture shift that you see happening. Did you guys see the video of the lady that pulled the gun on the sister in the parking lot?
Problematic.
I'm watching all of that. That looks different to me than I've seen in the past. A little more emboldened. The cats in St. Louis that pulled the gun on the protesters that were walking past
by their homes.
Protesters went back to their house too.
Yeah, I'm watching like his crew and how they're handling, Trump potentially losing. I feel like they could get out of hand. And I'm really watching that.
And we caught a glimpse of what they're like when Obama won. Right? Remember that? Remember when he first won, and they were going crazy with him on the noose and the monkey, and so it's going to be that times 10 in 2000. Right, in 2008 and 2009, it was crazy after he won the election. So I think that's going to be the scare. You're right. That's one of what else?
They don't scare me as much as the nice, quiet, smile in your face golf buddies, motherfuckers we all know that aren't idiots. That know what to say, when to say, and how to smile and shake your hand, and still voted that way.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that bother me more. I never thought I'd be that. I like it down south where they call you a nigger to your face as opposed to someplace else. But November 9th, 2016 was a hard day to walk into Nike's campus and look at all those, who aren't from the deep south and realize they're just the same, or at least a majority of them are. That is a tougher deal. It's easy to point out crazy shit that Trump or some other deep south politician says that is disqualifying instantly. It's the smooth motherfuckers that worry me, because they can be persuasive to those people who you're talking about who might not get behind Kamala Harris as a VP. They can be persuaded by a smooth, rational politician, not by a raving, cross-burning lunatic.
That smoothly extends beyond the white race, because we got to also watch what happens with the Hispanic vote, and we also have to watch what happens with some of these brothers and sisters.
Oh, man, I know a bunch of them that got pulled down the Jill Stein, Bernie Sanders route in 2016, and it had a damaging effect.
Mm-hmm.
Family and friends sharing stuff on Facebook, her emails, et cetera. Yeah, you're right. 100% correct. Bernie was a problem.
I would argue we're lucky Trump is such an idiot.
Yeah.
Such a crazy man.
I agree.
We had a regular George Bush in office right now.
Yeah.
We'd be looking at another 4 years.
Easy.
Supreme Court case, different, all that.
Yes.
We used to say George Bush was the worst president ever. Now we got this dude. It's almost, I'm not saying you can't be lucky to have Trump, but if
he was a little polished?
Think about thoughts together, Keith's and Jeff's. Mike Pence is who scares me.
Yeah.
He's that smooth talking
zealot.
Who can sell what the Republicans.
He's a zealot.
Are peddling.
He's a career politician. He's a career. So one thing I want to say, because GD, you were talking about the northern, the south, and all of. Listen, it's just as bad in some of these cats in the north.
Absolutely.
When I left Jersey, it was crazy to see how many Trump folks was just out there in Jersey.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So that's scary.
That's the topic for another day.
I know what Portland is like.
Yeah, that's the topic for another day.
I drove home today with a big old truck in front of me, with an original colonist flag on one side flying, the "Don't Tread on Me" flag on the other side, Big Mag in the backyard, and this notion that they're fighting for the lost cause way out here in the Pacific Northwest. I don't know why we allow the narrative of it's just the South. That's not what it is. It is an ideal of what it means to be in power and what power looks like that is beyond region.
Yeah, brother.
My biggest concern is what they do in the next 6 months to booby trap the system of government we hold dear.
Yeah.
The judge, the executive orders he pushes through, the legislative stuff that they slide through, all of that in the next 6 months, if it's anything like the last 3.5 years, will be almost impossible to undo no matter what happens in this election.
Yeah.
Who's in charge of the election process? Like, why are we still going to ballot boxes and pulling a lever?
Because every state runs their own, right?
2020. So it's state.
The federal election.
Is it the state's attorney general?
Yeah, it's the state.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I think the state.
The Federal Election Commission has a lot to say about the process, up to and including when and how we go to the Electoral College.
I'm looking at it.
Hey, Reg, that's a good point you touched on as far as how we view the South. And that's just something I grew up believing. I was in California, the great melting pot, et cetera, and the South was where shit was crazy. But the North is just as full. I've lived in a bunch of different cities, and there was no one any more or less racist than the other. And that includes LA, San Diego, Orange County, along with Chicago, Portland. It's this country in general.
Yeah.
There are some stereotypes that are known to be stereotypes, but that's all they are.
It's this saying that I heard that they talk about North, South, and you can take it to the West around white, black folks. And it says in the South is you can get close, but don't get too high. In the North is you can get high, but don't get too close. So it's like you can live by me in the South, but just know your place. And in the North is I don't even want you living near me, but you can be as rich as you want. And if you think about how it is in like cities in the Northeast, a little bit more segregated than you think.
But I think in the reality, it's even every region and/or city, you can do a circle. In the center of a city, it might be 70% Democrat or 80% Democrat. So 1 out of every 4 or 5 people is going to be that. You get a little bit out. Even in Portland, drive 5 miles out. You get to a low in Hillsborough, you're probably getting a majority Republican. I've been making this drive from Portland to the Bay for the last 3 months. It is unbelievable. You don't have to get to Wilsonville before it turns. So
before it changes, right?
Confederate flags in Sherwood.
Where Democrats and liberals, and in any city, I think it's just more dramatic in the South how that circle is and how many Republicans there are. Because the number of what Red describes, the "Don't Tread on Me" truck, the Trump signs, the amount I see on the road the second I pull out of Portland is pretty incredible.
At the coast.
Yes.
Well, let's be clear, right? It's because they tried to secede from the Union.
Yeah,
That's
There's
kind of where it all comes from. To bring it back
that's a little fact that they don't get out there, right?
Yeah. They're just honoring their
there's some-
history with those statues.
Our history. Well, you
There's
from
some
the
really
north.
interesting. There's some really interesting
From a geography
stuff.
perspective.
Say that again.
There's some interesting stuff Southern Poverty Law Center has on the base, not Trump's base, but it's what they call themselves, and how they have a goal, and this is a hate organization, of making the Pacific Northwest a stronghold for white supremacy and having that secede.
Yeah.
So that Malheur National Park taking over the ranger station thing, a little bit of a test
To see what they can get away with.
Yeah.
Money.
and it's
Money.
and it has been a stronghold for a long time. One of the problems with the South, too many niggas was still there after slavery. It'll be hard to take that shit over because it's a heavily populated area of black folks. Northwest, not so much.
No. Money, you were saying something.
No, I was just going back to what Julio was saying about the cities. You talk about 70%, and then as you go out, you see it change. I think the difference in some major cities in the north and the Pac Northwest is the geography is one thing, but when you go in the south, it's embedded, right? You don't have to be outside the city for the races to be right next door to you. Here, I think in a lot of cities, you get the geography, and we say, Oregon is blue in Portland and then red in the rest. In cities in the South, or hell, I just left Chicago, even in Chicago, it's right there, right in the middle of the city. You could be red and blue. There might be more blue, but they're right there next to you.
Yeah. So, fellas, what I think I'm hearing, I'm a rapper, so what I think I'm hearing, especially about the election, is, Reg, I think you got a good point about House and the Senate. But I'm with Clip about we got to get this cat out. Got to get him out because in 4 more years, it could be really, even with the House and the Senate. So I think this 2020 election is something we definitely should be coming back to as we get closer. I think definitely through the summer. So I'm gonna wrap us. I appreciate this time, fellas.